Hey, this is Seth with In Demand Career. I show people how to get life-changing jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education. And that includes my very special guest today, Christopher, who is only 22 years old and is making $68,000 a year in a remote digital marketing job with no college degree. I actually interviewed Christopher a few years ago when he just got his first job, making about $42,000 a year. And with under 2 years of experience, he is now raised his salary up to $68,000 a year, which is an incredible accomplishment. Also considering that he is with the same company that he started with. So this is a very inspiring story. I'm very excited to share his story and his progress with you. Thanks for being here, Christopher.
Seth, thanks for having me here.
My pleasure. So why don't you tell people a little bit about your current job and what you're doing right now?
Okay, so at my current job, I'm a full SEM analyst now. Before I was a junior analyst, purely creating accounts, like scrubbing negative keyword lists, stuff like that. But now I actually have my own accounts and I'm managing stuff like that. I manage about 150 separate accounts, ranging from $100 a month all the way up to $7,000 a month, over $100,000 in monthly ad revenue. So that's what I'm currently doing right now.
That's awesome, man. That's quite an accomplishment. That's quite a lot of growth from where you were before. And it's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of accounts. So do you have you must have some very small accounts where you're doing very little maintenance and then other accounts where you're doing a lot more hands-on stuff?
Yeah, we have little accounts that we just do maintenance on. When you have $100 budgets, there's only so much you can do to squeeze out that $100. But on the bigger $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 accounts, we're in there all the time making changes, stuff like that. It can definitely be overwhelming, but we try to really be automated with a lot of things. We have a lot of software to track budgets, turn accounts off, pause them, activate them, things like that.
That's awesome, man. And so that's just a little bit about your job. And what's the culture like? You said you're working remotely, right?
Right. I'm working remotely. The culture is real good. I got real lucky with my company. Everybody on my team is super nice. A perk for me is that everybody has more experience than me. So every single meeting, I feel I'm getting something valuable. Just recently, we picked up 2 new people that I've been training, but other than that, everybody else has more experience than me. But yeah, it's just a great camaraderie there, and I like it.
That's fantastic, man. Now you say you're training people. As I mentioned in the introduction, guys, I interviewed Christopher, I think a year and a half ago, and he had skipped college for success, like I recommend. You don't have a college degree, you're 22. Who are you training? I'm just curious. Are these college graduates? Are they complete newbies? Are they older than you?
Okay, so one of them, he did go to college. I don't think he was a recent college grad though, and the other one was a in-company hire. They're basically junior analysts that do the account launch process, what I was doing when I was a junior analyst, and I'm just basically teaching them how to do that. And me and my manager, we'll give them small tasks like scrubbing negative keyword lists, stuff like that, like checking out errors in the policy manager on Google Ads, things like that, small stuff so they can get their feet wet and really learn how to do things. That makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just highlighting this for people, guys. I want you to understand how rare it is for somebody of Christopher's age, 22, to, have command such a high salary and to also be in a management leadership position, even though you're only training 2 people and one of whom has a college degree. That is still an exceptional accomplishment. And it's very rare. Most people who are 22, I don't know if you have any friends who went to college. I mean, they're probably just graduating, trying to find an entry-level minimum wage job. Do you have any friends that went to college?
Yeah, I have a ton of friends that went to college. I have tons of friends that are still in college, thinking about doing master's degrees, stuff like that, doctorates. So I have friends they're still locked up in that for another couple of years. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel somewhat better about where I'm at now versus being in school.
Absolutely. Do you have any friends who have graduated recently or about to graduate and they're starting to think about a job?
Yeah, my best friend's about to graduate with an engineering degree, and he's really starting to worry about it because that date is coming up. So I feel for him, but it's tough out there.
Yeah, and at least she's got an engineering degree, which is a more practical of the degrees out there. You know, the toughest
Yeah.
thing is when you have somebody you know who has an English degree or history degree or any non-STEM degree, and they're
Yeah.
just, what are they going to do without any skills? You know, and it's a rude awakening for a lot of people, and I'm very happy that you didn't have to experience that.
Yeah, me too. I'm so glad I chose this route. I did consider college before I found your course, and I'm so glad I did your course because I wouldn't even be making anywhere close to this money if I was going to school. I'd probably be working part-time as like a waiter somewhere or something, like making really low wage. But I lucked out, put in the work, and now I'm here.
Absolutely, guys. You don't have to understand that, like, if you don't have a high income skill set and you're a college graduate and you come out of school, I mean, you're going to be making, I mean, the statistics are very misleading. You're probably going to be making close to minimum wage because you don't have any real skills to offer. So you're going to have some kind of maybe an office job, customer service job, a sales job. And the idea of getting up to $70,000 a year, this is something people, strive for in 10 years, not in a year and a half, which you have done. So, what was the other thing I was going to ask you for? I do want to share with the audience a little more about your journey to get here. But I was curious, what's it like working remotely as well?
Working remotely is real convenient. Obviously, your commute is from your bed to your desk. It's super flexible. I mean, I would never want to go into the office ever again in the near future because there's just so many perks. I mean, the work-life balance is just it's so good, especially when you have a company that's not overbearing, not overlooking your shoulder all the time. It's just like you're comfortable, you can get your work done. It's just really nice.
Yeah, and that's so great. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later in the interview. But for now, let's just kind of catch people up and just, why don't we share with people just how did you, actually get into this field? Where were you at when you found my course a few years ago?
Yeah, I was a real estate agent for about a year and things weren't going well. And, I was trying all the different marketing strategies to get leads and stuff like that. And we had a marketing team at a real estate agency, and I started getting more interested in the marketing than the actual real estate selling. And I was like, I realized I didn't want to do this anymore. So I started researching, well, how do I get, to this place where I can do this as a job? Searching around, there's a lot of misinformation out there and stuff like that. But I found your course luckily, and it really helped me out. It literally set me down the path for success. Whether you want to do PPC or SEO, I mean, you can kind of focus in on one of those on the course. And as long as you follow the course, do the work, stuff like that, and put in the applications, stuff like that, you will be fine. It's all about the work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, guys, when you say you're a real estate agent, I mean, how old were you?
19 when I started as a real estate agent.
Yeah, when I hear real estate agent, I think of someone in their 20s or maybe 30s or even 40s. So the fact you're doing this when you're 19 is very interesting, and I think it's pretty cool that you knew pretty quickly that you were more interested in marketing. So how did you go about getting your first job?
Well, obviously, firstly, I took the course and stuff like that. Afterwards, I ended up creating my own website, created a little blog, not to really make money or anything. And, I just, like created a Google Ads account for the blog, and I just started throwing things at the wall until they stuck. I was spending $300-400 a month of my own money with no job every single month for about 3 months. Just, like running campaigns, changing things, like turning knobs, flipping light switches in Google Ads and stuff like that. And that's the biggest thing that got me the job. I also worked with a salon that was down the street for me. They already had a Google Ads account, and I just went in there and I basically cleaned things up, stuff like that. They, at the time, had all broad match keywords, no broad match modified, even though that's gone now. No phrase match, no exact match. So they were just getting searches for like hair care products, hair removal, stuff like that, because they're a salon. And I basically, like tidied up their account. I did it for free because I had no experience, but it definitely paid off. And those two things were the biggest things that got me my job.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into that interview in a second, because you touched on a lot of stuff. Yeah, guys, what he's speaking to, if you haven't taken the course, you don't know anything about digital marketing, is essentially this: Google is there to make money, and the reason that these jobs are so plentiful is because Google likes to present itself as like, hey, we're your friends. We're Google. We're going to help you get lots of traffic and leads and make a lot of money. And it's kind of like a casino, like I say in my webinar. It's like the casino has a commercial with a person winning all this money, right? They're like, come on in, gamble, have some food, but they just want to take your money. And Google is very similar in that sense. Like they have a lot of automation and processes, and the way their system is set up is such that the average small business owner tries to run a campaign and they're going to just blow their money and not really have very good results, which is why they need someone like Christopher and my other students who come in and make the changes he spoke about and get them results. And then when you have that experience, and by the way, guys, if you're in the course, you spend a lot of money on those Google ads. I usually encourage most people come in and I say, hey, spend, when I got my first agency job, I haven't only spent like 50, $100, maybe $150. But what you did is actually a really good suggestion. If you're in the course, to say you should get your own clients like you did, work for free. That's what I suggest. But if you're going to spend a few $100 of your own money every month, you're going to learn just as much as if you had a client. And that's the proof is in the fact that you got hired. So tell us a little bit about the job interview for the job that you got. How did that go?
Yeah, it was your standard 3-stage interview. First interview was HR, passed that easily. Second interview was with some of the team members, more casual stuff. But the final interview was with the director and the manager that I'd be working with closely. And that's where they really drilled me with the technical questions and stuff like that, asked me about my experience. And like I said before, the fact that I did an account for a salon and I was spending my own money, they were actually really shocked that I was willing to actually throw my own money into the fire, essentially, to learn how to do this, running my own blog, knowing I'm not going to make any money, knowing that those lead forms are never going to convert to anything. And that's how they knew I was serious about learning. And they knew that if they hired me, I was actually going to put in the work.
That's awesome, man. That is a great illustration of what I teach in the course, which is say you had the skills, you had the know-how from all the work you'd done, but that really did illustrate. It was like show, don't tell. The fact that you're spending this money shows them a lot about your character, shows them that you're willing to take risks, you're willing to learn, and that you're committed. And I'm sure that it made you stand out from everybody else who had applied for the job. And I'm curious, because you said your first interview was with HR and you don't have a college degree. So did that come up at all?
No, it actually didn't come up at all. They more or less just wanted to ask me about the things that I've done. They didn't really go into too much detail because it was HR, but that's the one thing I liked about my company is that they never mentioned it. They never asked about it. I never brought it up. And I'm really glad that, some companies out there are actually, foregoing that requirement, because Google Ads isn't something you can learn in a classroom. It changes like literally every month almost. Google will implement things. Sometimes they don't even tell us that they implement things. So how would a college professor even pick up on those kind of things?
It's absolutely true, guys. It's so crazy to me. I just got a message the other week from a marketing major at a school I'm at, and just the stuff these schools are teaching is so outdated. It's so irrelevant. They don't know anything, you don't learn anything about Google Ads. Even if you did, your professor is probably a tenured professor who is not working on accounts every day like my coaches are. So again, just taking the initiative like you did, obviously they were impressed by that. They didn't care about the degree. And guys, I repeat this again and again, just because if you're watching this and if you're, a high schooler or you're, considering college, you just got to understand that this degree thing is changing. It is a very slow transition, but it's just as palpable and real and profound as the internet. It's like back in 1990, nobody thought the internet was anything, would change the world. Now, the internet destroyed and built billions of dollars in businesses. The college degree and the college approach to things is done. It's outdated unless you're going to be, again, an engineer or a doctor, maybe a lawyer. Everything else, if you're going in there building debt to get some English or history, even marketing degree, you are in a slow process that is going to put you in debt. So, that's why I love sharing these stories of people like Christopher, you had the guts and the drive, and it takes a lot of guts, honestly, to skip college, because did you have pressure from your family or your friends to go to college? Or if I recall, I think you didn't have that much, but what was it like?
So I was originally in college, and even before I found out about digital marketing, I knew that like this wasn't right for me. Like, things are changing. I saw people having trouble getting jobs even like when I first started college. And that's how I left to become a real estate agent and stuff like that and kind of find my way. But there's definitely a lot of pressure, like societally, and depending on like the school system you're in, the schools really push for college as well, which on top of that, you may feel like in high school that you have to go because everybody else is committing to, like Clemson, Alabama, all those other schools and stuff like that. But I mean, it's really not in your best interest, if you really want to do something different.
Well, I think if you want to get a job, unless you are, there's this, the crazy thing about college is, again, I actually was do a sketch about this, is like critical thinking. They will say, oh, you need to learn to think critically in college. But then if you question college at all, if you say, hey, I don't know if this really makes sense for me, people will shout at you and they'll be like, don't question us, just give us your money and your tuition. And there are certain fields, like management consulting, right? I know someone who's in management consulting, which has to do with analyzing businesses. It's a terrible field, by the way, and everyone who's in it is pretty burned out. But it's right up there with finance, and it's one of these like corporate industries that a lot of people are drawn to because there is money there. It's very competitive. And for that, it's like, yeah, you need a degree, right? You need a degree to get into certain finance careers. You need a degree to get into management consulting. You need a degree to become a doctor, obviously. But it's such a small percentage of the jobs that are out there. And the problem is people don't approach college like any other purchase. They don't say, okay, well, I would like to be this. This is the job I would like, so I'm going to get this degree, which is fine. I'm going to invest this much money, and then I'm going to make this much salary. And it's just simple and logical. It's so bizarre because you have parents are like, you have to get a degree like in English. I mean, you're an English speaker, and they're like, you should get a college degree in English or history or women's studies or even like philosophy. Like, seriously, there's still people majoring in philosophy, like they're studying philosophy, and they're expecting it's somehow gonna help them make money, and it doesn't make any sense. So anyway, guys, that's the end of this video's college rant. The point is, you be like Christopher, and I share these stories to give you more and more social proof to push back against the peer pressure you're getting from your parents and your teachers and your maybe even your friends. If you're one of these very smart, independent thinking people who's like, what, I don't think college is for me, but everyone's saying I should go. I'm giving you these examples so you can be like, listen, there's dozens of my students, hundreds of my students now, and soon will be thousands who have skipped college, and they're having much more success than their peers who went to college. So along those lines, why don't you talk to people a little bit about your progression from making $42,000 a year to now making, $68,000 a year? That's a huge raise in a year and a half.
Right. So as I said, I started out as a junior analyst, making accounts, doing like the small, like, manual labor kind of stuff in Google Ads for the analysts and managers and stuff like that. It's one of those things where you have to really put in the work, and you have to show that you want to learn, because if you just join, one of these jobs and you're just kind of like satisfied with where you're at, you're not really going to move up anywhere. You're not going to learn. If you have to join a different company and you don't learn what you need to learn, it's going to be really difficult. And, we had, some people that were overwhelmed with their accounts, and, they were ready to bring me on and, be a full analyst. And for a while, I was doing both the junior analyst job and the normal analyst job before we got another junior analyst. So it was like doing double work, but when you're doing double the work, you're double the learning as well. And it's repetition, and over time, you just get better at things. I know Google Ads by the back of my hand now, and it's because I'm just putting in that work all the time. And that's one thing I can really harp on, is if you put in the work, you're going to get to where you want to be. It is really that simple.
Absolutely, man. And I'm excited to hear that, like, the thing that excites me about the path that you took is to hear that you took, when you're your age, like you're 22, you guys have no idea. Some of you guys, you get into your late 20s, you're going to be like, I can't party as hard as I used to in my early 20s. And you're going to start to see, you get a little bit older, your energy level, it can stay very high, but it's never going to be quite as high as it is when you're 18 to 22. And the thing that frustrates me about college is I'm like, you're taking young people who at their prime, like their highest energy output level, and wasting their energy on these nonsense classes. Whereas someone like you're taking that energy and putting it into this skill set and this career. And you're doing double duty, but you're like enjoying it, you're learning, you're growing, and you're absolutely doing exactly what you should be doing. And that's how you've made such quick progress. So you've only been with this company for about, I think you said about a year and a half almost. And so when did you get a raise and a promotion, and how did that happen?
So back in the beginning of this year, I got your standard like corporate like 3 to 5% raise, and around sometime in March they came to me and they were like, "Hey, we think you're ready for the next steps. We need you to take over some accounts. These are long-standing clients that we have new clients coming on, and we need somebody to like really make sure these long-standing clients are staying happy while we bring on these new clients and focus a little bit more on them." So that's just kind of how it went. And they gave me the raise. They said, we really value your work, and so they gave me the money, and it was more than I thought it was going to be. But like that's why I said I got really lucky. This company is, they really care about you. They take care of you. The culture is good. And not every place is like that, but when you find a place like that, you want to do the work and treat them well as well.
That's so great, man. I remember when I finally got paid like a decent salary by a company, it was the same thing. Like I wanted to work harder, and a lot of it, this industry, I think has some of the best work-life balance, some of the best culture you're going to find. But the one issue I've run into with agencies is that a lot of times an agency, like I encourage you guys to take entry-level positions like you did, making 40,000, 50,000 a year. That's an incredible salary to start with and to begin learning. But once you got that year of experience like you got, you are worth 60 to 70K. And your agency, to their credit, I will really acknowledge them, because they basically were like, okay, now you are at that level, and they paid you the salary. Some agencies don't do that. And what happens is, my students, this is typically how it goes, is they'll put in that 1 year at that first agency, and then they'll just jump ship to another agency because the other agency is like, yeah, we're going to pay you 70,000 a year. That's what you're worth. But the place that hired them sometimes won't do that. They said they'll give you a 3% or a 5% raise. And so I always encourage my students today, if you have a company you really like and you've been there for like a year, use Christopher as an example and be like, look, I'm getting offers for 60K. You guys can match that because I want to stay here. Otherwise, I'm leaving. Because no matter how much you really do love the culture of the company, which I think is great, you're not family. It's business. So you should leave for the better paying position. But I'm very happy that you were able to stay at this company and that they did the right thing and paid you like what you're worth, which is really fantastic. So that's great, man. And I'm really happy for you. I'm proud of you. And I think what you've done is really fantastic. Why don't you tell people a little about your plans for the next 6 months, where you said you're living in New Mexico now, but you're going to be moving?
Yeah, I'm going to be moving to Tulsa, Oklahoma. They have a remote worker program. Anybody that's a remote worker can apply. And basically, if you get accepted, they'll give you $10,000 to move out to Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's a really good opportunity if you're still somebody young, living at home, working remote, to make that first step into living on your own and doing stuff like that. And especially in a low cost of living area as well. And, it's kind of a win-win. The city gets more people, you get the incentives. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, man, that's exciting. I remember you mentioned this last time we spoke, but now I'm happy you're actually moving forward with it, guys. And just to kind of reiterate what you said, guys, what he's saying is that, yeah, this is actually something that's happened with a lot of cities, is like a place like Tulsa, Oklahoma is a place that doesn't have a big population. There's certain other cities that like they have like tons of people coming in, but Tulsa, which I don't know much about it. I know it is a low cost of living city, but the fact they're going to pay you $10,000 to move there for how long is it? How many years do you have to live there?
It's just for a year, but there's no hard limit. You can leave anytime you want. It's just they advise a year, and they have like a monthly payment plan. And if you decide to leave before a year, the monthly payment plan will stop. But other than that, no contracts, no nothing. It's real smooth.
That's a really cool program, guys. And again, if you're watching this, you're one of my students, you should consider it if you do have that mobility. But I mean, getting an extra 10 grand in your pocket for living, moving for a year to a low income state is a pretty cool idea. So I'm happy for you, man. You're going to have more in your savings account than most college graduates are going to have, and no debt. you know, I don't know. You can tell us next time. We'll interview you again. You can tell us what it's like to live in Tulsa. I mean, I don't know. Imagine it's you know, it's not like New York, obviously, or a big city. But if they're, you know, if they are attracting in a lot of remote workers and they're making an initiative like that, I imagine it's probably one of these cities that's probably growing, right? Do you know anything about the city itself?
I know a little bit about the city. I know for the program, I think they've had about 1,900 people move to Tulsa so far, and so far they've had over a 90% retention rate after a year, which essentially means that 90% of people stay there longer than a year, even after the money stops coming in. So, I mean, there's definitely something about the city that's making people stay there, whether it's the cost of living, whether it's nice, stuff like that. And all these remote workers, they may not exactly be in digital marketing, but it's a lot of tech stuff. So I mean, like it's similar type of crowd to digital marketing, just a different vertical essentially. So there's definitely a lot of young professionals that you could meet. Maybe I'll start up a Seth Himes, group in Tulsa if enough people move there. Who knows, man?
That would be great, man. If I could help, people come together, I really enjoy that. And that would be cool. I hope it is a cool city, because a lot of the, when I was living in the States, I had that problem where like I was done with the big cities. I was done with LA, New York, San Francisco. I'm tired of it. And I moved to Reno, which seemed like such a cool place. But then I was part of the, there was this like exodus of people from like San Francisco going to Reno. And, Californians are like, I'm not going to say anything here. I'm just going to say like Californians and New York is like spread out, into these other cities and kind of make it more like California. So if Tulsa is like kind of an up and coming place that still has a low cost of living and is starting to have more of a culture and more of a good community, that could be really exciting. Because the other problem that happens when people like flood into like Reno, the real estate market it was going up even before 2020. So if Oklahoma is cool, that'd be cool to know. Awesome, man. Well, hey, can people reach out to you on LinkedIn if they have any questions?
Yeah, if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn about like, even if it's just about like, oh, what's, day to day, like is this thing right for me? Do I really want to do this? I'll answer any questions, that's what's nice about, this whole course and stuff. It creates a community, and, when you have a question, you can ask it, you know what I mean? And somebody's going to have an answer. And there's people there that do want to help you out, as, rare as that seems today, it definitely still exists.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I was going to ask you, maybe you can elaborate on that. I was going to say, do you have advice for anybody who's thinking about doing the course?
If you're going to do the course, do the entire thing. Don't skip sections. Don't skip any of the worksheets or anything like that. I went to the course once and didn't do everything, and it slowed me down, and I had to go back through and do it again. And just the next thing is just be persistent. Not every company is going to be, keen to not having a degree, and that's okay. They're going to be the ones losing out anyway because of that old mentality. Because there's definitely companies out there that are looking for people that can do things. There's definitely companies out there that see that people have marketing degrees, but that doesn't mean they can actually do the job. So that, just be persistent and you'll find your way. Trust me.
Awesome, Christopher. Thanks so much. That's very inspiring. And thanks for making yourself available to people. I'm really happy for you, and I'm excited to see where you go next. So let's definitely stay in touch, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Sounds good, Seth. Thanks for having me on, man.
My pleasure.